Welcome to Black and Organic. I'm Charlie. If this is the first time that you've come and watched any of my videos, thank you. And hopefully, we have a lot of interesting things to share and definitely interact and put comments, anything you want to in the chat box, no matter where you're watching this from. And today on Black and Organic, we're here with Dr. Nalani Valentine, a senior expert in holistic health. And this is from all perspectives, especially with the natural living and ingesting natural and healing and whole things, which we're all about here at Black and Organic. Over 40 years of experience, and she doesn't look like she should have 40 years of experience in anything. Um, and she is the founder of Heal by Touch Oasis in New York, co-director of the Whole Wellness Self-Healing Education Center in Florida, and co-founder of the University of Cometian Sciences Online. Dr. Nalani also runs the Institute of Self-Mastery, which is an online homeschool program that promotes holistic health for kids. She's a naturopathic doctor, but also has a PhD in hygienic science and Doctor of Divinity. She's written countless books on health and wellness, but I recently read New Life from Near Death, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, which talks about her personal battle with acute myeloid leukemia and breast cancer. So her motto is "Your health is in your hands," and now I will pass over to you, Dr. Valentine. Hello.
Hello, hello. It's really a pleasure to be here and to be able to speak with you and to share what I think is the purpose for my still being alive. The subtitle of my book is How You Can Prepare Your Life for the Unexpected, how to prepare your life and health for the unexpected. Because as you mentioned, when you're health conscious, you tend to think that you will not really get ill. Now, you can't actually say that, but you really believe that deep inside. Well, I'm doing everything right.
Yeah.
And however, that's not necessarily the case. And we know that your genes can be expressed or unexpressed or, switched off or on with lifestyle. We understand that. And that's what makes us think that, well, if we have an excellent lifestyle and we conquer whatever else it may be in our genes, then everything's going to be copacetic, as we say. However, as you've read in my book, it didn't say anything about chromosomes. So your genes can be switched off or on and not your chromosomes. And as it turns out, I had two chromosomes that were prone to cancer. And so they said it would just keep coming back unless I did something drastic.
And that's the interesting thing because oftentimes Orthodox medicine positions itself as we are adversarial to science, or when you're naturopathic and you're holistic, that you don't know sense. You don't know that there's certain things that are happening on a genetic level, chromosomal level, that we live in a world where we can't completely shield ourselves from toxins. We know that 90% of all people on Earth now are full of microplastics. We know that there's lead that's just persistent for over 50, 60 years in the United States and elsewhere here in the UK. And air quality is a big thing that UK suffers with, and you can go outside and it's like you smoked 14 cigarettes. So no matter how healthy you are, you will still have to battle with toxins that your body will overwhelm you. And that if you have a chromosomal change, like you said, you won't be able to deal with. As an alternative health coach, I currently have health crises where I was recently diagnosed with fibroids. But it was a funny journey because all of the symptoms that most women have with fibroids, missed periods, pain, this, that, I wasn't having. It was growing in the background, and they were getting rather large. But of course, blood work, I wasn't even anemic. Everything was fine. So I was surprised that I had fibroids. And I know it's my lifestyle. And because fibroids actually, interestingly, in African American women are more prevalent and the histology, which is the structure of the fibroid, is more complex sometimes, you can have a genetic fibroid, so to speak. So I really resonated with your story. But you get
Mhm.
this. imposter syndrome, don't you? Well, I did. I got sick and I said, well, how can I tell anybody to take more vitamin D or anything like that when I have fibroids? So how have you dealt with that? Did you feel that at all when you became sick? And how did you deal with that, with people being a bit, you got sick,
Well,
so why should I
I
try?
so when I received the diagnosis, I believe now, in total shock and not disbelief because they were telling me what was going on and I believed them. It's just that at the time, Charlie, I can promise you, I have more anxiety now about it looking back than I did when I was going through it.
Wow.
That's just how my mindset was all about, okay, whatever this is, let's take care of it. Let's move on. Let's do this. We're going to take care of this.
Mhm.
And so, no, I didn't have that imposter syndrome. However, I actually was indignant and still am. How dare I have an illness? How dare I catch a cold when I had gone 27 years and not even had the flu, never taken a flu shot, never intended to, and didn't take even aspirin or anything. So how dare I? That's how I think about it now, and I have to pull myself back and realize that in the aftermath of all of that, I'm a different person than I was before. Now, it is truly my lifestyle that saved my life. I know that without a doubt. And nutrition is only one part of that, right? However, I know too that if it were not for all of what I teach, think well, drink well, heal, sleep well, eat well, and move well. I know it's very simplified and that's purposefully done. Each one is as important as the next, as you've seen in the book. So I can understand and understand how people could think, well, if she's going to be sick and she's a naturopathic doctor and she's been doing this for over 40 years, then, nobody has a chance. Well, that's not the point. The point is not to ever get sick. First of all, it's humanly impossible. Secondly, the body is constantly working towards homeostasis. As you know, it doesn't mean you ever arrive because when you are perfect, you're dead, you're gone. You're at the next stage. That's where our perfection is, right? So, however, when I tell my story, I make it that clear that there's nothing you can take that will cure you. I've said that in my other books, and that you can be better prepared. And that's really the bottom line. Yeah. It's not that you never will become ill. It's that you can be better prepared to handle whatever comes your way. And were it not for my lifestyle, were it not for the nutritional supplementation that I've had, and I put quotes because we know I take functional whole food capsules, and it's whole food, it's real food. It doesn't even have a supplement label. So it's not that cured me or heals me. It was a huge part in keeping my organs healthy because, as you know, it says the doctors told me in my mid 70s, like I'm 78, 76 rather, and at the time I was 73, and they said, you're in your mid 70s, but you have the organs of a 20-year-old. And I know that enabled me to withstand that very strong chemotherapy that I undertook, that I made a decision because they left the decision up to me. To me, there was no option. Either live for 2 years, maybe, taking this mild stuff that they give to younger people, or do the most intense process, go through the most intense process ever that they don't like to give to anyone younger than 55 or 60. And know within my being that it's all good. That's why I'm here, to get this done. You can ask questions because I'll go on and on and on.
No, that's
The
no,
clock is ticking.
no, I think people really need to hear that because one of the things that I like about your Facebook page, Healthy Happy Boomers, is that we get to a stage in our lives where we stop being excited about the aging process because we think we're breaking down. We think that we're becoming weaker. We think that we're just going to naturally succumb to illness and things like that. We start off life being children excited to be 13, excited to be 21, and then we get this downward ascent like, oh, I'm 40, oh, I'm 50. It starts going further down. It's the exact opposite with your energy and your story because it shows that actually our bodies can continue to be strong, can continue to be youthful and vibrant and withstand a lot of challenge because our earth is challenging. I love what you said. Yes, perfection comes at the next stage, right? Perfection comes when we enter uh, the place, the holy place where we have originated from, thinking about that spiritual and mental aspect of it, because we talked about how, whole food supplementation, exercise and movement for people who follow Nalani and know about her constant videos of yoga and dance and all of those things that like keep your body strong. But there's also the mind spirit connection. And how did that play into the recovery process as well?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned in the book, when I was given the diagnosis, I felt no fear. I didn't feel a threat to my life. I felt very curious.
Mm.
And it was, oh, okay, all right. Well, what's next? What do we do? Really, truly. So the mindset is not something that all of a sudden it appeared. I've been studying self-motivation, self-help for many of those 40 years, for many of my 76 years. So your mind, you know how the brain creates these synapses that go along certain pathways. And if you're accustomed to thinking that way, you're going to think that way no matter what happens. So when I was accustomed to, for instance, being depressed or sad, just as Abraham Hicks, are you familiar with Hicks, Abraham and Esther Hicks? Yes. So then you know that if you hold a thought for 17 seconds,
Yeah.
another thought's going to come and attach to it, and another one, and another one, and another one. And before you know it, you have this cascade of thoughts that come with your emotions that help you create the reality that you're living. And as I always say, your cells are listening.
Yeah.
So the mindset of everything is always working out,
Yeah.
and how do I help that? How do I align with that energetically? And it is an automatic thing once you've created that habit. And that's one thing I intend to do, is help as many people as possible get to the place where they can, as Esther says, pivot, where they can think a thought and feel that emotion, because your emotions are as important, even more important as the words that come up in your head and the images. It's the emotion that really creates it and attaches it to the physical. It attaches the metaphysical to the physical, right? So once you are in a bad mood, it doesn't mean, or once something frightening or something that angers you, anything that has a negative connotation, once that happens, you're not going to automatically lie to yourself and fool yourself into thinking, oh, I'm fine. Even though I'll say everything is working out, you're still saying, and do you really believe it? That kind of thing. However, when you can think of, in pivoting, when you can think of one thing that you can truly say that you're grateful for and mean it and feel it and believe it, even as she says, oh, I'm sure glad these sheets feel good. This bed feels really good. I know I've got a lot going on. And you wake up in the morning and that first thought to my head of what was negative that was going on before I went to sleep last night pops right up into the head. Instead of thinking that thought and connecting to that emotion, just flip the switch by saying, and you'll do it first consciously. It's not going to be an automatic flip of the emotional switch. That's impossible. However, you can change your mind because we have that power. We can always choose, right? And so we can say, wow, I'm glad that these sheets feel good. This bed feels really good. And, I'm so glad we got those pillows because that helps too. And before you know it, another thought's going to attach to it, and then you've got more positivity going on. And that's when you can start thinking other thoughts that have more value or more.
Higher energetic frequency.
Yeah, well, no, not necessarily thoughts that have more meaning even than
Yeah.
being, oh, I'm glad I'm in the bed. But you can think of everything that you are appreciative of because we cannot be angry or we cannot be grateful and have any other negative emotion at the same time. It is impossible.
Yeah.
You cannot be negative and grateful. You can't be sad and grateful, angry and grateful, disgusted and grateful, afraid and grateful. It just can't happen
Yeah.
when the emotion behind it. So that's what I dealt with. And instinctively, I said, I write this in a book. I'm going to write this. As you know, it was it was like journaling what was
Yeah.
going on in real time. And so my attention went into preparing to write the book and listening to my favorite music and watching comedians on YouTube.
Yeah. I love that journey of talking about the how your neurons flash one thought to another because it is by design. It's so that we can create and have complex emotions and synthesize lots of things we're seeing and hearing all at the same time. Humans are very complex beings, and we weren't necessarily designed, in my opinion, to have these thoughts, like you say, become negative and eclipse the next thought and separate our connection from creation because we become separated. When gratitude is how we connect to creation. We're not grateful, we separate ourselves. And I know that with my healing journey that I'm on now, but when I became sick, there was a long, prolonged period of time, very prolonged. I think ever since I went into the workforce, and I've been working since I was 16 years old, of stress. And I thought that it was perfectly normal to stress about work and that's not a big deal. That's just life. So you at work and the more complex roles become, we end up thinking way more than 17 seconds on a lot of negative stuff. And it just lasts for hours and meetings and forever. And you think that that's just normalcy. And if you have a supportive community behind you, you think, well, I have people who love me. I have friends. I have family. Not such a big deal, but you're still kind of churning this negativity that you stop being grateful you have a job. You stop being grateful for your colleagues or the good work that you're doing. So talking about that, my in terms of like building community and building that wellness community, and specifically for people, which you've seen so many different people that are overworked, overstressed, they're becoming lonely, they're becoming isolated. Health issues are kind of brimming forth because of that. They may think they're not negative, on a Saturday, they're very grateful they could watch Netflix and eat junk food and sit on the sofa. That is like the most grateful they are all week. But it's still not that connection with spirit, environment, and health. So, what would you say to those people in building a wellness community and maybe how your personal wellness community or the ones that you've built have helped you in your health healing journey as well?
Well, the first thing is to recognize those who really are interested in building that kind of community because not everyone is. Let's face it, we all have choices. And even I notice even on my social media, when I post about mundane things, you know, walking down the street and enjoying this or that, or saying something that happened with family, I will get many more comments and likes. And when I post something of what I would call of substance, something that I think is important that people would want to hear, a
Radio
handful,
silence.
a handful of people. And that's not, it's not a complaint, it's understanding, understanding and overstanding where you are and who your audience is. So I was just telling my husband, you know, thanks to you, I remembered I do have a YouTube account somewhere. I haven't worked it. However, when people are on Instagram and even on Facebook, Instagram more so than any of the others, TikTok and Instagram, they are there to get that dopamine, really. They're there to be entertained, to just enjoy whatever, scroll, oh, that's cute, oh, that's funny, oh, and just relieve themselves of some of that stress that you're talking about. So then why are you on Instagram trying to tell people profound truths about the workings of their body when half of them are not even interested? And however, when you go to YouTube, you expect there to be more content that has information. So the bottom line is to know who your audience is, because like I said, there are people who don't necessarily want to be told what they should eat and what they shouldn't eat. There are a lot of people who think they eat well. I mean, there are a lot of vegetarians. You can't tell them that there are some meat eaters that are healthier than they are. And, you know, and vice versa. And then there are those who are so stressed with life, they don't want to hear anything about anything. You know, they don't want to look. I'm not, I'm not concerned about what you eat, so you don't need to be concerned about what I eat. And those of us who are in the field of holistic wellness and healing, we want so badly for people to have what we have, right? And but if they don't want it, then, you know, not that you're throwing pearls before swine, because they're not swine. They just don't match up with what you want. And in the community that my husband and I are in now, we moved from New York, which was a thriving community of people of all kinds. And now we're in Florida, where it's much more, well, we are not in Orlando, because Orlando, Miami, once again, big cities where you have all of these people coming together. And where we are, it's very quiet, and the neighbors don't even know each other's name. So where's the community?
Yeah.
Right? So our community, really, we are rebuilding our community online so that we can connect with those such as yourself, and even those on Instagram, who there are those who follow my husband and they would rather hear from him than hear from me. Truly.
Yeah.
Because he speaks to them, he speaks their language. And then there are those who would prefer both of us. And then there are those who would prefer to hear about health and wellness. So you find ways to connect with those who have the same desires, right? The same mindset. And then once you come together, it happens naturally.
Yeah.
It's interesting you should ask that, because this evening at 6:30, I am hosting with Deepali, who's Deepali Dater, who is a very dear friend of Michelle Fletcher, who is the founder of the Holistic Health and Wellness Community, which is popping up, one in California, South Florida, and now we've created the one here. Forgive me, but the sun, as you can see, is
Shining on you.
having a great time here. Yes, so we're having the first event of for Central Florida. And what makes this so unique is that everyone there is holistically minded.
Wow.
All of the vendors, so we don't have a real estate agent and a banker. We have everybody who has a product or service that is holistic in its purpose and in everything about it. And even the guests who come, who have registered, they're coming because they're looking for the holistic community. Now, once that happens, now you're cooking with gas, as my mother used to say, right? Now you have the ability to connect with like minds, and the sparks, the ideas come, the sparks of how we can support each other and how we can reach family members without being preachy, because that's another thing. If you have a family member, for instance, who decided, I'm going to be vegan, and then sometimes we get overboard and we get too excited, and then we try to make everybody else, that's the only way to be and the only way to think. And, well, I'm not vegetarian, I'm vegan. Well, I'm not just vegan, I'm all raw. Well, I'm all raw and I just drink nothing but juice. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
What else can we talk about?
And like the music and dance and what you've watched on television the last day, that's all part of what feeds you. And um that feeds the spirit and the mind, art and culture and all of those things. And if you just focus on, getting down to being a breatharian and all those kind of things.
Exactly. And people don't realize, as you mentioned before, the environment that we're living in. Yeah. I think being a breatharian is just a good idea right now. When you're breathing, when all you're breathing in are these toxins, and there are thousands, there are millions, there are so many different toxins that the body miraculously deals with, and we still function. Yeah. Yeah.
Because our bodies, you said earlier about how our cells listen to us and how they know what's happened and they keep that history. Our bodies constantly, I mean, the whole idea of homeostasis, going back to kind of the balance within your body, keeping yourself healthy, is the fact that no matter what we do, our bodies drive us toward health and recovery and regeneration. And I just think that's magical because we now know there's a whole universe in our bodies of microorganisms, and our cells have a lot more intelligence than, traditionally we've given them. They actually think and assemble and make decisions and act. So we have at our fingertips a very powerful nations of entities that are working toward our health. And I absolutely love that. And you're right, we get a bit addicted and excited that whatever diet you want, just get excited about the fact that we're amazing and we have a universe in us and we're going to be healthy. But thank you for that because it is hard, I think, for myself and lots of people building community. When you're just starting out and most of the people aren't necessarily healthy at all, and like you say, they're not interested in it, sometimes you feel a bit bad to not leave them behind, but kind of forge a new way. So thank you for that. Because last question, because I could talk to you all day, and I do want to bring you back to talk about like the comedic studies and the history of health and all sorts of other things if you're willing to come back for different chats. Because
I'll be honored. I'd be honored.
oh, thank you. So the last question is about that empowering people and that legacy, and just thinking about how do you once you have them there and they're newbies, whether they're new practitioners or new clients, you could take it from any place. How do you get them to be empowered about their health and be excited? Because people do feel like it's too much, if I start changing my diet and exercising. I mean, I've even known people to say they don't want to be different people. Like they think they're going to have some kind of personality swap, if they eat a
Exactly.
carrot.
Good question. And really, everything begins with love, as you understand that. And it's not just a, bromidic thing. It's not just this obvious, oh, everybody says love. It's when you come from a place of caring and a place of empathy, I tend to think of it as putting myself in that person's place. How would you want to be spoken to? How would you want to be reached? Find out what the person's goals are. What do you want to accomplish? You've come to me, tell me about you. Tell me about the reason that you're here. And we start there. And just let that listen, 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 listen. Ask more questions, questions, questions. And that way you begin to get a better picture of what they are looking for. And then you take baby steps, one step at a time. And even if it's not a baby step, it might be one huge step for that person. It's one step. And we break it down in ways that it can be absorbed, in ways that it can be digested, in a way that a person will say, I can do that. Oh, yeah, okay. It's not so scary as I thought it would be. I can do that. It's just like, when you want to encourage someone to fast, which is a great thing to do for fibroids, by the way. I don't know if you're familiar with my husband's book, The Wounded Womb.
I will get it. That is
The
definitely going to.
Wounded Womb, it's on Lulu. However, it's very deep. I'm telling you, it's very deep, and it's much more than fibroids.
Right.
It's the politics, the oh boy, I don't even remember all it is, but it's so much. Uh, I'm going to find that out. I'm going to look that up right now as we speak, and see how I can challenge myself to speak and do this at the same time. Let me just search for it right here.
No, go ahead and search. Yeah, that'll be brilliant. Because the thing of it is with feminine issues, all of our stress and anxieties and treatment actually go into our reproductive organs and on so many different ways. It's kind of the first hit we get. So if people are diminishing you in terms of your self-esteem or self-worth, if it's happening at work, is it happening in your relationships, almost invariably as a woman, you'll come up with some sort of reproductive issue. And in the past, from pre-COVID, about 2019 to about a year or so ago, I was going through that, especially career-wise. It was quite a lot of attacks on who I was as a person. And I rose above it, but I'm now understanding in my journey, my body didn't necessarily rise above it. So my mind was there, my spirit was there, but the stress was still very high.
Yeah.
The
And
feeling,
I'm so sorry.
no, no, go ahead. Yeah.
We know that the body and the mind are one, so they're not separate. And
Yeah.
we can try to fool ourselves. However, the subtitle of the book is it's The Wounded Womb, the suppressed truths about behind the anatomy, metaphysics, politics, and economics of women's diseases.
Wow.
That's and it has been quite controversial. We know of women who have called them and said, I've read your book, and when I started reading it, I threw it across the room
Wow.
and didn't want to hear it. And now I realize that it is something that was really very important for me because the truth is in it. And I also want to impress that the way we're living today, it's all designed for stress. Okay. So not one of us is without stress. Now it's a matter, and all types of stressors. There's the emotional, and then there's the physical, and even the breathing in health wise. So what we do is the best that we can and know that it's going to make a big difference. Know that you're not taking something and saying, well, I hope this helps. Or no. It's just like for me in the book, I mentioned taking this strong chemotherapy that could kill anybody my age itself without the disease itself. I thought to myself, I'm not even going to think about side effects because that's not why I'm taking it. The purpose for which I am taking this is being taken care of. That's why I'm taking it, and that's what I agree with. That's what my cells agree with. And I don't agree with anything negative that's going to happen to me as a result of this chemotherapy. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, my hair fell out. I was sitting on my locks, and I expected that, but I wasn't afraid of it. I wasn't worried about it, anxious about it, because that gives it more energy. Right? So all of the conditions that we have, women with fibroids, men and women with all kinds of sexual issues, it has everything to do with the air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink, all of that. And though there are things that we can do to better prepare ourselves for whatever, for the unexpected.
Oh, thank you so much for this interview. I mean, there's so much people can take back from this, and I'm so grateful to you for giving us kind of an overview from both patient side and practitioner side. And I just encourage everyone to look more into Dr. Valentine. I will leave links on wherever you're watching this, from whatever social media platform you may be on, to her websites and socials so that you guys can follow and stay connected and just know that you can heal thyself, that that is what our bodies are designed to do. They are default set to do it. So even if you're sick, you haven't become something else. A car is still a car, even if there's no gas in the tank, right? So, you're still gonna heal. And I thank you. And is there anything else you want to kind of leave folks with?
Yes, I just want to let them know and let you know that the site that my book was in has been taken down.
Oh,
I took it down because we had some issues that I wasn't satisfied with. And so I do have a list. I'll put it here in the chat, actually, so that someone who may be interested, we are going to have the second printing coming up shortly, and they can sign up for it.
that's brilliant.
Now, just to ask you, the copy that you got, were the inside pages full color or were they black
They
and
were
white?
color. They were
Okay.
color. Yeah.
Then I have
Yeah.
got a more decent.
So is it kind of like half or color, half?
No, some of them were all black and white,
Right. Okay.
and that's not what I paid for. So, and not only that, there were other issues. Um, However,
The content's brilliant.
it's so important. I feel that that is my life's work at this point. I am looking for speaking engagements. Um, I don't care where. I will travel. If they're paying, I'll travel.
That would be brilliant.
But speaking engagements for churches, for businesses, for groups of people that get together and who want to really have a good dialogue and learn and even have a workshop on those things. I am open to that. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, no, thank you. Oh, and thank you, everybody. Thank you to everyone who is watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Speak soon. Take care.